Thank you. I realize that the audit report is a very thick document. I'm really here to answer questions for you and share just a couple highlights from that document to draw the board's attention to what I believe is some of the most important aspects that you can look at in an audit report. If you would draw your attention to page 64, it's a really good summary page of the results of the work that was done on your behalf. We do look at 3 different areas. One is the financial statements, another is federal awards, and the third would be state awards. So there's compliance audit that we do for federal and state, and a financial statement audit for your financial statements overall. For each of those, we issued an unmodified opinion. That's the best type of opinion. That's what you'd be looking for when you open your audit report. We had no modifications to be made to a standard opinion. And you'll also notice on the right-hand column, there's lots of X's next to the no and none reported. That's what you'd be looking for. We had no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, no items of non-compliance related to state or federal compliance to bring to your attention. In fact, behind this little summary, you'll see a bunch of blank pages that say no matters were reported. We had no findings to bring to your attention regarding state, federal compliance, or the financial statements overall. In fact, the financial results that we've given our unmodified opinion on are the same financial results that you've previously approved through your unaudited actual package back in September, and we had no modification to that data at all either. So, somewhat of a bland report, but the type of report you'd like to see when you open up and look at your audit report. I'd like to answer any questions that you have of me, maybe about the audit process or the audit report or the results that I've shared with you.
Member Dice?
Well, yeah, thank you. I do appreciate that there's nothing there. I mean, that tells me that staff, even with the number of changes we've had in administration, have been able to weather the storm of change, even as it relates to even the reporting changes in terms of providing certain documentation as it relates to federal and state funding. So, and even student accounts, which we've always seen something, a question mark or something there. So we have a tremendous staff, even as thin as things are at times. It's really great to hear that. And even for, I think even the Child Nutrition Fund, I mean, even those kind of areas. So really appreciate the great news. Made it really, this is the first, I've never sat here and heard that. So I just want to thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Your team is doing an exceptional job, and I got to tell you, we do a lot of presentations this time of year. We had 15 board meetings last night that my team had to get through, and they're not all as easy to do, and the news is not as great as it is here. So your team is doing an exceptional job.
That is good to hear. Very good to hear. Other comments or questions? Member Dice still, who's been around the longest, can't contain herself at the audit report. That's unusual, yes. I've never seen someone so excited about an audit report. I did have one question on the letter to the board on page 4. You identified an uncorrected misstatement in the amount of $175,000. Can you explain what an uncorrected misstatement is and what that was about, and what does that mean? We should correct it, or what are the next steps that flow from that?
Yeah. So
it didn't sound good.
Yeah. It really isn't bad, and I want to make sure that we're clear about that. Through the audit process, we want to make sure that anything we find related to the books and records or the timing of when things are recorded in the financial statements is brought to your attention. And so we found that through the auditing process that the timing of when some transactions related to interest income on some of the accounts was recorded could have been recorded in a different time period. And so because of that, we wanted to bring your attention to that. We accumulate the information, we look at it, and we say, is that material to the financial statements? Does it affect our ability to rely upon the financial statements? And the answer to that is no. But we want to include it so that you have full transparency to anything that we found through the audit process. So again, from our perspective, it wasn't something that created any risk. You see, we have no findings or recommendations in relation to it. Sometimes the timing of the information that you get from third parties it inhibits you from being able to record a transaction in the proper accounting period. So this is, again, nothing was wrong. It just should have been recorded in the current year instead of the subsequent year.
Got it. So, not material is.
Correct.
Is the basic bottom line on that. Yes. Mrs.
Can I draw your
Novak.
attention to page 49? Can you go over, because to me, ADA is the lifeblood of this district, and I'm curious how we had an ADA of special ed of 1. Does that represent a student not attending our school, or does it represent the total students who meet the federal criteria?
I don't know how many students are actually enrolled that qualify for the line item that are required to be reported as special education. We'd have to look back at the records to determine that. But I will tell you, this is the amount of attendance reported. So you could actually have more than one student who make up this individual population. But when you look at how many days they actually attended, you could have one that attended 30, one that attended 50. When you put it all together, it represents one average daily attendance. But we'd have to look back at the actual attendance records to see how many students were enrolled that qualified for that.
Again, I'm not, I guess, 1 seems remarkably low. And so I understand how ADA, how the calculation works, but I would hope that of the, I think it's 13% of our population that has an IEP, between those, I have to do math in my head, 52 kids, I'm hoping that together they attend more than 180 days. And so that's why, again, I'm asking how we came up with the 1.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sorry.
It's really a question for the superintendent or Ms. Dr. Steele.
Yes, and it may be because of the blended program that we're running. I'm wondering if ours, and it could be a data classification issue of how we're coding those students because they're not in a separate dedicated special ed classroom. That's my hunch, but I'll have to dig deeper.
Well, I would hope, I agree with Member Pats. I'm sure we have more than one individual student who's been identified for special ed. Because I know my son was beginning speech and language services, and he's graduating this week from the program. But last year he was one. I know we have more than that.
Yeah.
But
Apparently
it
needs
is.
to approve his attendance.
Yeah. He went every day.
So he's
But
our
it's,
1.
yeah, right. But it's a fiscal question too. I mean, I assume we're getting more, federal dollars and state for special ed than one.
So, I want to clarify, many of the students what you're referring to are actually included in transitional kindergarten through 3rd, 4th through 6th. The funding rate from an ADA standpoint is the same for each of those students. And so just because they have an IEP doesn't mean from an attendance standpoint they would be included in the state's form under special education students. And I think that's probably what's causing the question about that.
Right.
Majority of those students, if they don't have county office, if they're not participating in county office programs or other independent programs, mostly are included within 4th through 6th, 7th, 8th, whatever actual
Okay.
grade.
So is that the non-public school kind of placement?
That is an exceptional line, yeah. So that would be a different line that comes outside the classification. In the district's period 2 report of attendance, you'd be able to actually take a look at that and get the specific answers to your questions. But those students are mostly reported in these other categories.
So that's what I originally asked, is this could represent one student that does not attend one of the district schools that we're still funding. And so then we get their ADA. So, okay, that would make more sense. It still
Correct.
seems low to me, but
Yeah,
I like it
it
being
would
low.
definitely be more than that. But I was thinking, when I saw that, I thought more about our model change. So they're in the normal or the regular classroom, and we have pull in, pull out services. So it's the community. I forgot. I'll kill it. The small community. What is it? What is the model we went to? So it's probably they're under Thank you, learning center model. And so this may be one student who's actually not part of that model. That's how I caught it. It's the same as what you're saying, that this
Yeah.
is part of, every student is in those clusters, and we may have one student who, for the balance of the year, is probably not part of that learning center model. That's how I saw it, but that's just my take.
Yeah, I would be concerned if I'm still confused how we're counting this kid. I was much more comfortable thinking it was a kid who does not attend.
And we
I
have
think that's
more than
probably
one. We got more than one student who's, we definitely have more than one who's at a non-public, school, that we have out, so.
I would assume so. I would assume we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
quite a few, and,
Yeah.
all right, well,
I have a question, if I may. I noticed, is that okay? On page 4, there's a statement at the bottom that the increases or decreases in the net position of the district over time are indicators of our financial, whether or not our financial position is improving or deteriorating. And I noticed in your highlights on page 3 that our financial condition has decreased during the 13-14 fiscal year. So total net position decreased by 40%. And then I just want to make sure I understand this. So, and then the second highlight is that the expenses were more than current year revenues by about 2.6 million. So that's just a simple, we've spent more than we had coming in issue. I'm assuming, I'm just asking for clarification. Was that typically how I should just read that?
Yes, but I want to make a couple of, so number one, this is the management and discussion analysis that's actually written by staff, not by the auditors. So this is your management's view of your financial statements. The point I want to make on that is right now in this particular section is talking about your overall financial statements, which include all of the long-term liabilities and all of the capital assets. So it's not the fund financial statements. And so you do see sometimes some big swings because of things like depreciation expense that's not recorded. There's no cash that actually flows out, and it's not recorded at your fund financial statements. So yes, it is saying that the financial position of the district has decreased, but that's the overall financial position when you look at all of the long-term liabilities, the capital assets.
Okay, thank you.
So when you issue debt, that number goes down because you have additional debt that's been issued.
Okay, any other questions of our auditor? All right, is this an action item to accept the audit?
I believe so, yeah.
Ms. Emery is shaking her head,
Yes.
so it sounds like it is. Any public comment on this item? Dora Sue, please come forward.
I just want to add in the comment about the question on page 49, the ADA. The number 1 there is actually one special ed kid that attending the NPS. The way with the LCFF right now, the way that we report the ADA data is actually from now on with all the students under special ed are lumped with the other regular students. So the one that you saw on page 49 is for one kid that attending NPS school.
And MPS is non-public school that for those at home, the student is not, has special ed disabilities warranting a non-public school placement because the district can't properly service the student. Okay, that answers that. Any other public comment? Do we have a motion to accept the audit report?
I move to accept the audit report as provided this evening.
I'll second.
Roll call, Ms. Emery?
Member Ash?
Yes.
Member Merriam?
Yes.
Member Pats?
yes.
Member Dice?
Thank you, yes.
President Affel?
Yes. Okay, thank you for your presentation and your service.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right. We're on to
General ed.
item number 3, the resolution 11 regarding accounting of school facility
She
fees.
just walked out.
Superintendent, do you want to introduce this item?
Sure. The purpose of this item is to secure the board's approval regarding a resolution for the annual accounting for our school facilities fees. And Dora Sue, if you don't mind, I think, I know she's still talking to Dora Sue. Thank you very much. Thank you. Dora Sue's going to go ahead and present this item for us.
And before you begin, Ms. Sue, thank you as well from me and I think, and the rest of the board, I'm sure, for your good work on the audit to get us a very clean bill of health.
Oh, you help.
Why don't you hold on a second while we're using our IT director, Superintendent Rubio, to make sure we can push the right button.
Okay, I'm here tonight to present the developer fee report.
Why don't you give the projector a second to, I think it's hopefully warming up. Okay. Superintendent Rubio, can you remove the, oh, okay, it's gone. There we go. All right.
Bad projector.
All right.
All right, the law required the school district that collect the developer fees to make an annual accounting of those fees available after closing the book within 180 days. 180 days after closing the book. And this report that we're going to go over tonight is going to cover the fees collected, the spent, and also the interest accrued in that account for fiscal year 13-14. And developer fees, there are restrictions on the spending of the developer fees. Basically, what I'm trying to say on this slide is only available for construction or reconstruction of school facilities, or any cost associated with conducting any study or finding or determination required as part of the process to adopt the developer fee, or any cost for administering the fee, costs associated with conducting any meeting required for imposing the fee. But the developer fees cannot be spent on any regular maintenance or routine repairs. And it cannot be spent on any of the asbestos work other than that incidental to the construction or reconstruction, or any of the deferred maintenance expenses. We cannot use it under the developer fees. And the beginning balance of the developer fee, as you can see, is $2.1 million. We collected the fees in 13-14 total to $6,000, and we spent $31,000 last year. Now the fund balance as of June 30th, 2014, for the developer fees is $2.16 million. So the staff is asking the board to accept the developer fee report as required by the law. So any questions?
Member Dwice?
I've just been here too long, folks. Good evening, Dora Sue. Thank you for the presentation. I just had a question about, are there dollars that are in our, I know we have 5 years in which once we collect that we must spend, and what that number is. If you can draw, I know you have supporting, but I couldn't tell.
Actually, on the exhibit that Lisa attached to the board item, you can see, I believe it's on Exhibit A.
Okay.
On the second page of the Exhibit A, I believe I highlighted the amount that we are supposed to spend within the 5 years limit. So basically, for those who do not know about the 5-year limit, is the first deposit that you received on your developer fees, you do have 5 years from that first deposit that you made to spend the money. Otherwise, the state can go back and come to you, and you are supposed to get a full refund back to the state. So that's why it's critical to track those money and making sure that they are spent within the time limit. And as of this year, year 14, 15, the total amount that we have to spend in order to meet the 5 years time limit is $374,000. And it's showing on the second page of your Exhibit A.
Can you go back 2 slides?
Yeah, I'm having trouble finding that.
Good question, but how do I go back?
If you hit the backspace key twice, it'll go back 2 slides.
Oh, the exhibit is part of the resolution, I think, page 5, John.
Yeah.
Lisa, do you know how to go back?
Hit the escape button now.
Oh, arrow key, maybe?
No. I'm not going to get up and do this, okay.
It's too much on here, I'm sorry.
Yes. One back, Christian, is that?
Oh, right there, perfect. I miscounted if that was only one. So, something stuck out to me here. If we have a balance of 2.1 million and we're collecting 6,300 a year, is
For
that?
last year.
For last year. What's typical that we collect?
Well, the year before, we collected over $1 million. So the numbers can change from year to year.
Okay.
And
that's-
actually, there was an email communication between the city and the school district, and I get a confirmation actually from the city. They are supposed to they are supposed to send in the fees once they collected for the school district every quarter
Uh-huh.
of the year. But there are times, if there's no permits turned in, then there's no money to be sent to the school district. And just for those who do not know, the city is the one that collecting the developer fees for Emery School District, and there is a 3% service fee for handling the fee collection.
Okay.
Yeah, so, Member Pats, this is a one-time fee the developer pays when they get their building permit, and it fluctuates wildly depending on the economy and if anyone's building.
Yeah, I suspected it fluctuated, but that's a huge,
Oh, yeah, big
you know,
swing.
and
0 to 2 million?
and I can't, living in Emeryville and walking, biking, and driving around this town, you can't go 30 feet without hitting construction. And that might just be my neighbor, but it's, so it seems,
Yeah,
$6,300 is,
really small.
yeah.
Timing's everything.
Other questions?
I have one question for you, Darlene. Regarding the amount that, the 2.1 million or thereabouts, is that been accounted for in the budget or for the new ECCL as far as a line item, or is that just basically a separate reserve for however we want to spend the money?
Right.
Right now, I'm sorry, I was just going to interrupt, if I may. It is not included in the current project budget of the ECCL project.
Right now, the money is actually accounted in the Fund 25 separately by itself. But if you see all the year resolution that passed by the board on the developer fee, you will see the purpose of this fee is going to be fund the ECCL project.
So, that is what the documents say, that we have to identify the public improvement that we're making. It indicates ECCL. So, it is a question I had, is this money that we've already dedicated to ECCL, or is it money we can use?
It is not dedicated to ECCL in general. Is that
In the current budget?
in the current budget now?
Yeah.
No. Is that, Dorsu, is that what you just were saying?
Well, the way on the book is showing under a separate fund. The ECCL is Fund 21, but the developer fee is Fund 25. Is keeping the book separate from the ECCL construction. But I believe I went through several years resolutions that already approved by the board and so on. I see on the exhibit, very specific on the resolution and the exhibit, it did mention ECCL on the developer fee, so they can be used for construction purposes.
So it's one of the type of items. It may be one of the amendments, Dorsu, that you're referring to when the school district voted to increase the percentage. Is that possible, what you're referring to? Did we have amendments in the past regarding the percentage for, is that, or am I getting confused with? I think, we had some amendments in the past as a school district to move up to the state allowed percentage, I think, correct?
Okay, that's a separate
Those are other,
issue.
those are different amendments, okay.
But what I'm saying in here is the developer fees, if you have a specific purpose for using the funds, the developer fees are more restrictive. You have to meet certain criteria. You cannot just spend it on everything. You have to meet the criteria in order to use the fund. But part of what the resolution that's been put through by the board, they are allowing the developer fees to be used on the ECCL project. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah, and in regarding to what you just said, raising the rate to the state limit, that is another project that we have to look into, because with our current status, I do need to spend some time to see even is it worthwhile to go in to do another justification study to raise the rate. Because with our declining enrollment status right now that we're having, we do have unspent capacity on the facilities at this time. May not even justify us to raise the rate. And maybe that's the reason why we are still sitting at the 2008 rate.
Makes sense.
So can you explain a little how that works, that one has to do a study to
From what I
justify-
know-
Hold, let me finish the
Mhm.
question. So the rates change annually, and you can only change as a district if you do a study to justify why you need to change, and if that's the case, what are the criteria for being able to justify?
The state allocation board, they will update the rate every 2 years, matching the inflation. Right now, the rate that Emery is charging is still at the 2008 rate, which is $297 per square foot for residential versus what's out there, I think is $336 or $337 out there. So, but then in order to increase your rate, you have to do a justification study. And on your justification study, you have to show there is a link between the new development is going to impact with new students coming into your school district that affecting the capacity of your school district. But now, as I said, we are in declining enrollment. We might not even have any excess capacity at the time. And if we cannot justify that link, that relationship, maybe then we cannot just increase the rate. So this is another conversation that I need to have, maybe some kind of consulting firm. Maybe it's not even worth for us to go into trying to do another justification study and then go through the process of increasing the rate at this time. I don't know yet. It is something that I will follow through.
Okay. And Member Dice would know best, I think, but we've used a consulting firm in the past for this kind of study. Is it the same folks that did the parcel tax
No.
analyses and?
I don't know
different
if
group?
it's the same group, but it is definitely tied to what because most of it is data driven by our demographic. It's like a demographic study. So the demographics as well as what the city may have coming online in terms of projects that would be anticipated, so.
And it looks like this money can be used for those studies.
Right, right.
Correct.
Right. But I think, I do know once, at some point, and I don't know how often, but the district would at least get, in terms of trying to figure out whether it's worth it to, but have a sense of what projects are coming online, or if there's even, options, because we're talking about redevelopment, RDA days compared to now. And so I won't say Emeryville is completely landlocked, in terms of projects, but there may be
We are
such a
not
smaller
landlocked.
set of buildings coming online that, well, before we had a long list, there was like an Excel file of all these different projects, and I just don't know where that is. Do we have as many projects coming online? But
As far as I know, there were 2 studies made. One is in 2010, and the other one is in 2012. I tried to question about why were the rates not updated when we did the studies at those times. So I guess from a reliable source, he was telling me that because at that time, all the prior CBOs did not put in the proposal to the board. So right now I'm working with a consultant. I'm supposed to send him the prior year's studies and have him to even make his expert opinion on whether we are likely to get a rate increase. If not, then we are not going through another study.
May I ask a different question? Doris, do you know, it might be interesting for us to find out how many school districts collect their fees directly when people file building permits, and how many have another entity like the city? It just seems strange to me that we have the city collecting this and taking 3%
that's
every
a really
time.
long. I just
Is there
wanna
a
warn-
history on that one?
It's been a great conversation. It's been asked maybe every year I've been sitting here,
Oh, okay.
and I couldn't even tell you right now the why and the rationale, but there had to. I don't know if it's the administration, or I don't know if it's how it's orchestrated. A builder is going, or a developer is going to the city and doing the paperwork, and they're not having to come to our office and do it. So I don't know if it was a lot of that, the nuances in terms of how they have to write a check here and then write a check there. So the city was doing
Okay.
all of it like a one-stop shop. So
I was curious because I thought most school districts collected this directly.
yeah, that's been an interest, and we've always had that question.
Okay.
So that's that answer we got back to you.
And actually, all the prior bigger employer or school districts that I work for, they collect the developer fees directly. They do not go through the city.
So maybe that's something you can look into and bring to the finance committee?
Uh,
Yeah,
the-
normally I'd say we want to do things ourselves, but we're talking about 3%, and so the amount of staff time to collect $6,300, on the 2 million years, I'm all for it. But again, I don't know that I think on the 2 million year, that becomes a full-time job. And so I'm concerned that I think 3% is not, I don't know that the city's gouging us, is I guess my comment. I don't know that I want developers anywhere near our district office. That's just me. So filling out paperwork and such, I think the pay-through the city doesn't seem to be cost prohibitive to me. That's, again, my opinion.
No,
Well-
that $6,000 argument makes sense.
Huh?
That $6,000, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to start processing developer permits?
If there's going to be new buildings in Emeryville, I might.
I guess it's, as a member of the finance committee, I'd be curious to know the answer and
Just to
if
answer
and how and how.
your question, John, as far as what I know, I think there was already a long conversation between the city and the district about the 3% service fee, whether it should be done here directly. if I don't get a clear position from the board, I would not even proceed with doing any homework on it because I was told there was a particular reason why it was done in the city, not with the school district. So,
So I guess for starters, clear direction that if you could find out what that reason is, because this board doesn't currently know what that reason is, and I think we
Okay.
would like to know. And then we
Alright.
can figure out
okay.
if we want to do anything about it.
And Doris Sue, I would like to know how many school districts in Alameda County collect their own versus another entity. Maybe do we have an easy way to find that out from the county?
I could question the county on this one.
Okay, I'd be
Yeah.
curious.
So do you have the resolution and Exhibit A and B in front of you,
I
Dora?
don't, but Lisa, do you have a copy that I can look at
Someone-
now?
'Cause I do have some specific questions about it.
All right.
Let's see. So page 4. Where's that? I guess that's Exhibit A, the first page of Exhibit A. F, E, F. Yes, so first of all, we're required to identify, as you can tell from G, on the same page, what the public improvement is that these funds are going to be expended on. And the answer is see attachment, and then there's no explanation in the attachment of what the public improvement is. I think it's in B, right, where we reference ECCL, but it's not in the attachment to Exhibit A. Are you following me, Ms. Sue?
Are you on Exhibit A or
Yes,
B?
so looking at Exhibit A,
Okay.
we're required both by the resolution, and then if you look at page 4 of Exhibit A at G, we're required to identify what the public improvement is, and we don't do that anywhere in Exhibit A.
On G is, if I'm reading the item G on Exhibit A, right, it kind of said interfund transfer, and I don't think there is any interfund transfer for 13-14 fiscal
Okay.
year.
All right, then it's E, you're right.
Okay.
An identification of each public improvement on which fees were expended, and the amount of the expenditures of each improvement, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't see how we identify the public improvement.
But I just want a clarification, if I could. So these are for fees that were already expended, though, correct? Not to be expended.
That's a good question for Dora. Is that all
Those are the
we're?
fees that we already spent. If you're talking about.
talking about this-
Spreadsheet
yeah.
where it said expenditures.
Mhm.
So those are the fees that we already spent. So if you look at 13-14, we spent $31,000.
On what, though?
See, I believe the way this format was done, which already set it up for years. Again, I believe the whole 31,000 is for the ECCL, because we do not have any other projects that we outstanding that we're doing besides the ECCL project. But what I could do then, I could go back to the office and run you the expenditure detail report. But I believe the way that it was set up this way by Emery, it's only my personal opinion. I think at this time, our one and only one project that we have for facilities is the ECCL. So if I'm taking these number right, it's telling me the whole $31,000 that we spend in the developer fees for the ECCL project.
So I'm asking you to confirm that, and if that is the case, then amend Exhibit A to identify that all of the fees spent were for ECCL.
Okay, I will.
So that,
Yeah.
that is disclosed as required. The same page on page 4 of Exhibit A, whoops, at F, the an identification of the approximate date by which the construction of the public improvement will commence. I think we didn't know that date in years past, perhaps, where you might have said, but we didn't, haven't we commenced construction at ECCL now, so shouldn't that be identified? I'm looking at F. The district has not made the reference determination, is what the answer is, which might have been correct in previous years.
On this one, is asking you the commencement date of your public improvement project. In this case, yes, you're correct. The ECCL already started. So there must be a date that we already started the ECCL?
Yes, Mr. Baker could probably give that to you, Dora, and we can go ahead and fix this.
Okay, yeah.
Except we're approving this now, right?
No, hopefully not.
You don't want,
Is there,
maybe we should have this conversation in public.
Oh,
The conversation we're having in private here is, are we approving this tonight? Are we, is this a first reading?
can it
Do
be
we
a
need to
first
take action on this? I think we need to take action on it, don't we, today? Because we're within some 180-day window?
Actually, we are asking the board to approve the resolution and the report as required by the law.
So it's 6 months, right? Do we have, would it be
Are-
end
are-
of this month?
Yeah, what's our deadline, Dora, Sue, I guess is the question.
It
Well,
seems
we
like we've
close-
actually missed that date, haven't we?
We closed the book on June 30th. And then we're required by law to post the data on the website by December 26th. So we meet that deadline.
So
And
you
then
did do
after
that?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
But all we posted is the spreadsheet that you see on Exhibit A, the first page. Okay, that's what we posted on the website. And then after posting the information, then you have 14, I believe you do have 14 days after the posting to get to the board meeting to get it approved.
Yeah, so you would like it approved tonight?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then again, what you just mentioned on item E on Exhibit A, actually item F on Exhibit A, I will find out the day from John Baker and then fix this.
Yeah, and you were also going to confirm that our expenditures today have been for ECCL and
Yeah.
identify that.
Mhm.
So we can approve it with amendments, but that is why I'm trying to figure out if there are any other amendments that I might have. On page 5 of the Exhibit A, I guess it is still, there's a footnote 2, which doesn't seem to, I couldn't attach it to anything. Do you see the footnote referencing, we have to spend these funds within 5 years? This amount represents the remaining unspent funds from collection 5 previous years that must be spent in the upcoming year. Where is that? Where's the footnote 2?
Or is it like a disclaimer
Yeah.
overall?
But yeah,
Essentially, we have a rolling account based on the 5-year window.
right. So what's this year's amount? And, that's why I thought the 2 somehow maybe got taken out of the text and it's just remaining at the bottom of the page.
Okay, this year is 374,000, and what you can see on the amount is on the following 2 pages. You see the orange highlighted amount?
Yes.
If you add up those 3 figures, it will come to roughly to 374,000. And that's the amount that we will be spent, and we have to spend by the end of June.
Okay. And then we have to spend those other amounts in the 531, 1.2 million, our recent 6,000.
And actually, to answer you back, the question that you have on regarding the footnote number 2,
Yeah.
if you look up the last year one that done by the CBO office,
Mhm.
you will see there is an additional column right besides the ending balance. And that is referred to the footnote number 2, right there.
Okay.
The reason why I take it out this time, I did my checking, it's not quite come to what it should be. So I told the staff to delete that column, and what I did is I added the next 2 pages. And that's how I come up with these 374,000.
Okay, so maybe you could move the footnote 2 to page 7, which is where you have the highlight. And
Okay.
just indicate the highlighted amount above is the amount we need to spend, now.
All right.
Um,
Okay, I
Or
will.
do you even need footnote 2? Because this table tells you exactly what the 5-year rolling number is.
Except it's not labeled in a way that would tells me that. So if there were a title to the table or amount to be spent, somehow indicate, footnote 2 does it, or it could become text or something, but put it where it belongs on the right page. I think that'll help people understand what this is. Question for you and the superintendent, I guess, is looking at 16-17, where we will have 1.2 million that we will need to spend, and we've
By the-
indicated we're spending that on ECCL. We will have built ECCL in 6. Should we be spending that ahead of time, so we're not having to return that?
Did we,
I was going to suggest that we go ahead and bring that to the Finance Committee to look at. It's a good conversation. So,
did we decide if we have a deadline to pass this evening?
I hope we don't.
Because I feel like what we should do is table this and have it come back in a more simplified fashion so we can approve it, instead of trying to fix it this evening.
I agree.
Make a
I think just to make it clear, just so
Well-
it's clear, we walk away knowing it's
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah, and before I agree with my own idea, I just want to make sure we don't hurt ourselves doing that. So,
Yeah.
Dora Sue, does this have to be approved this evening, or can we wait 2 weeks?
May I, just so you know, I was going to help just for a second. I just noticed, everyone, that the language in the Ed Code that we have here is that the board must review this within 15 days. So we are reviewing it this evening, Dorsu. So would that suffice for the moment until we bring it back?
I believe we can do that in the next board meeting.
That would be helpful.
In that case, I move we pull this item.
Because I believe the last
A
one that
second.
Mark did was actually done in February.
Say that again, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
The one last year, the last year one, the 1213 that you guys approved, actually was done in February.
Makes sense.
So if he can do it in February,
That doesn't
I'm
mean, that doesn't
sure
mean
we
it
can.
was.
I'm not sure we should use that logic.
That, look.
But I think we're
second-
okay.
I second the motion.
So can you repeat the motion, Member Pats?
I just move that we pull this item and have it return in 2 weeks.
Do we have a second?
Second.
That was me. I
I
did
think
it.
you're preempting,
Sorry.
Madam Vice President.
It's okay. We're all on the same page.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we're going to have Member Dice seconded. Do you want to take a roll call, Ms. Tamery?
Do we need a roll call, or we're just pulling it? I'm not sure if we need a roll call. Do we need a motion, or are we just
Yeah.
pulling? We do need a motion?
We already did
You
it.
made, was that necessary?
Why not?
Oh, I don't know.
Let's roll with it.
Okay.
Member Ash?
Yes.
Member Miriam?
Yes.
Member Pats?
Sure.
Member Dice?
Yes.
President Affelt?
Yes.
Thank you, Dora.
Thanks, Laura.
Okay. I
Okay.
just want to make sure what I'm gonna make the change is on Exhibit A, Item F, where I will put down the date of the starting date of the ECCL construction project. And then I will make a detailed expenditure report to show you the $31,000 that we spent in last year. And is that right?
And the footnote, I think, if you didn't
The
say.
footnote is going to move to the other 2 pages that I created. Is that all we are looking for in here?
Member Pats and Member Dice, those who were in favor of it moving, are those corrections? Are there other things that you'd like to?
No, I think just to make sure it's clear, that would definitely help. And perhaps if time is there, it could be reviewed maybe by the finance committee before, just to help, just to make sure.
I'm going to put Dr. Rubio on the spot. Do you feel you understand what we're asking to have done here and could work with Dora Sue to bring this back in 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I think we, yes. Thank you, Dora, and I think we're doing what we need to do, and we will see that item back in 2 weeks. And we have a Finance Committee meeting in 2 weeks, so we can preview it there, and you can certainly be in touch with Superintendent. You can be in touch with Member Dice and I on any questions in the meantime. Moving on, the next item is ECCL update.
We're